Hey guys, welcome to another video for Math 7a, and for this video we're going over 5.2, adding and subtracting like fractions. So first of all, what is like fraction? Well, like fraction are fractions with the same denominator. So let's have some examples. An example is 2/3 and 1/3. Those are like fractions. Another like fractions is 7/14 and 21/14. Those are like fractions. Hopefully that's pretty obvious. Now, what are unlike fractions? So an example of unlike fraction is 2/3 and 1/4. Those are unlike fractions because one fraction has a 3 denominator and the other fraction has a 4 as denominator. They don't have the same number. So that means they are unlike fractions. And we'll go over this the next video. But I just want you guys to see what are like and unlike fractions. Now let's move on to story time. Suppose we have a pizza, a large pizza, and that pizza is cut into 8 slices, 8 equal slices. Your friend Robert ate 2 slices, while your other friend Johnny ate 3 slices. In total, how many slices did they have? So if you're first of all, you're going to think of this as a critical problem. So first, Robert ate 2 slices out of 8 slices, right? In total, Robert ate 2 out of 8, and Johnny, on the other hand, ate 3 slices out of 8. So we're going to draw the circle. So this is Robert. So I draw a circle and I'm shading 2 slices. Those 2 slices is Robert, and then the others I'm going to shade another one, and this one is 3 slices, so that means it's Johnny's own. So in total, how many slices did they eat? Well, they ate 5 slices out of 8 slices. Now, that's pretty obvious, right? 2 plus 3 is equals 5. But let's interpret our data, our story, in fractions. So in fractions, the story will be Robert will, in fraction, will be 2/8. This is Robert, plus 3 out of 8 is equals to 5 out of 8. So 3 out of 8 is Johnny, and 5 out of 8 is in total. So you might say, yeah, that's pretty obvious. 2 plus 3 equals 5, things like that. However, this story actually tells us a lot of things. So one of the things it tells us is that when we add 2 and 3 together to get 5 slices, why don't we add 8 and 8 together to get 16? Why is that? Any guesses? Well, because we are still talking about the same pizza. It's the same pizza, whether it's so is this Robert and Johnny is getting slices from the same pizza, right? So it doesn't make sense that when we add, when you get pizza, you're going to add more slices. When we add 2 and 3 together, your pizza doesn't magically increases in numbers you're not going to have 16 slices, right? You're still going to have 8 slices altogether. So it doesn't make sense to add the denominator. Another thing it tells us is that suppose we have two different pizza. One is cut into 6 slices and the other is cut into 8 slices. Robert eats 2, Johnny eats 3. Altogether they eat the same 5 slices, right? However, they are now different sizes, so we can't add that. Well, why is that, you might ask? Well, think about it. In total, they ate 5 slices of how many? Well, if we're going to put 8, well, this 3 slices on does this 3 slices of Johnny is way bigger than the 2 slices of Robert's, right? So it doesn't make sense. So you cannot use 5 slices out of 8, nor can you do 5 slices out of 6. Because if you put this amount of pizza right here, it's not gonna be enough to cover all these 2 slices in the pizza that is cut into 6 slices. So it doesn't really make sense. Well, this tells us a lot of things again, and we can summarize these things into 2 facts. Fraction can only be added or subtracted if they have a common denominator. That means same denominator. I know there's a lot of things to remember. However, this is like the main focus. Okay, fraction can only be added / subtracted if they have a common denominator. And then the second fact is the denominator will not, again, here's the fact, will not change when we add or subtract. So your denominator shall not increase or decrease when we add or subtract, okay? So those are the 2 things you should remember. Now there's 3 steps. Let's try adding and subtracting fractions, because that's the main topic of this section. So first step is make sure the bottom numbers, i.e. the denominators, are the same. Step 2, add the top numbers, the numerator, and keep the denominator the same. So this second step is pretty useful when we're dealing with negative fractions, okay? Ooh, negative, chapter 1, haunting you guys again. Now step 3, simplify the fraction if needed. So this is, if the fraction is simplified, you're good, but if it's not simplified, then you need to simplify even more. Now let's move on to, let's try some examples. Let's say we have 6 over 13 plus 2 over 13. So first thing first, look at the denominators. They have the same number, so we can proceed to the next step, which is I want you guys to combine the numerator all together. So 6 over 13 plus 2 over 13 becomes 6 plus 2 all over 13. And then just solve. 6 plus 2 is 8, and 13 stays the same. Now you might be wondering, well, that's just dumb. I already know that 6 plus 2 is equals to 8, and 13 stays the same. Why do I need to do this extra step? However, this extra step is crucial when dealing with negatives and variables. So I want you guys to I want you guys to get in the habit of doing this, because later on when you go to not college, 8th grade, this step will really help you guys in your fraction. It will make your life so easy in fraction. I'm like, I wish I know this step because I just skip 6 plus 2 is equals 8, then copy the denominator, and I don't really do this. But later on, this is my preferred method. Even though it's an extra step longer, is a good habit that you need to develop now, so that when you go to 8th grade or even high school, when you guys are dealing with fraction with variables and negatives, you'll be like, oh, I know how to do this. This is pretty easy. You don't have to. Okay. So if I lost you on that one, just remember this step is crucial. Okay, so combining the numerator all together is crucial. Now let's have another problem. 7 over 15 plus 3 over 15. So first step is check your denominators. In this case, they have the same denominator, so we proceed on to second step, which is you're going to combine the numerator 7 plus 3, and then you're going to keep the denominator the same. So you're not going to do 15 plus 15, but you're just going to have 15 only. So now you have 7 plus 3 all over 15. Now just add the denominators, the numerators. 7 plus 3 is 10, and then copy the denominator 15. As you can see, or as you can see, your denominator doesn't change all the way to your final answer. However, once you're in your final answer, you're going to think to yourself, is my answer simplified or not simplified? So do 10 and 15 have some common factor? In this case, yes. So what do you do? Well, you're going to simplify both of them. So in this case, you're going to divide both top and bottom with 5. So your simplified fraction is going to be 2 over 3. So you have 10 over 15 or 2 over 3 as your final answer. So 8 over 13, that's already simplified. That's why we did not simplify. But here we need to simplify because, well, 10 and 15, we can simplify them. So I won't be really strict about simplifying or not simplifying, but I want you guys to get in a habit to start simplifying things, because later down the line, it's going to be mandatory for you guys to simplify fractions. Now let's have another one, but this time it's subtraction. It's 7 over 12 minus 2, minus 2 over 12. So again, first step is check your denominators if they're the same or not. In this case, yes they are, so we will proceed on. 7 minus, combine the numerator, 7 minus 2 all over 12. Now 7 minus 2 is 5, and then copy the denominator again. You get 12. Check if they have simplified or not. In this case, or it's simplified. So we're done. That's your final answer, 5 over 12. Now you're going to also, in this topic, in this section, you guys also going to have mixed numbers. So when we are dealing with mixed numbers and we want to add or subtract, the number one thing you should do first is you should change mixed numbers to an improper fraction. So how do you change mixed numbers to improper fraction? Well, first thing first, let's have a problem. Let's have a mixed number, 2 and 2/3. So the first thing is you're going to multiply your denominator with your whole number, and then afterwards you add that answer with your numerator. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply 2 times 3 to get 6, and then you're going to add 2 to that to get 8. So your improper fraction is going to be 8 over 3. Your denominator does not change. You might be thinking, oh, this is a common trope. Your denominator will not change. However, this is only applying to this rule only applies to adding, subtracting, and changing mixed numbers to improper fractions. Okay, those are the only things, the only time your denominator will not change. Okay, hopefully you guys did that. Now let's try some problems. So let's say we have first problem is 5 and 5 over 9 plus 2 and 7 over 9. So some of you guys, have you guys have different ways to add fractions, but this is the one I'm teaching. So if you can add the fractions in your own way, I'm allowing that. However, uh, I lost my train of thought. So some of you guys had been taught different ways to add mixed numbers. I will accept your your other ways. However, I also have my own way. So please please put that in your mind when you are doing this. Okay, now that I got that disclaimer out of the way, let's start adding. So first thing first, we have mixed numbers. So we need to change mixed numbers to improper fraction. So 5 times 9 is going to be 45, and then you're going to add 5 to that, and you're going to get 50 over 9 plus, as 9 times 2 is 18, 18 plus 7 is 25 over 9. Now, my voice cracked. Now we combine the now that they have all improper fractions and they have the same common denominator, we add 50 plus 25 all over 9. So 50 plus 25 is 75 all over 9. Again, simplify this. 75 and 9, they have a common factor of 3. So divide both top and bottom with 3. You're going to get 25 over 3, or you're going to get 8 and 1/3. So you have 3 options. Actually, you only have one options. So here's the thing, okay? So if I give you guys mixed numbers, I expect to have mixed numbers as answers. So if your question is mixed numbers, then I prefer my answer to be in mixed numbers, okay? So it's a good deal. If I give you mix, you give me mix. If I give you improper fraction, you give me improper fractions. And your mixed numbers will probably be rare, but I'll probably it'll still appear, but it's going to be like not like 1 or 2 questions only, but not a lot, okay? So let's try another one. Oh, I did. Okay, I'm gonna delete that slide later on. Let's say we have Let's have another problem. 10 and 6 over 13 minus 6 and 8 over 13. So first thing with first, what do we do? Well, what do? We want to change a mixed number to improper fraction. So multiply 10 and 13, you get 130. Add 6 to that, and you're going to get 136 over 13 minus 6 times 13 is let me see, uh, this 78 plus 8 is going to get 86. So you might be thinking, oh, that's too hard already. I'm adding I'm multiplying and adding big numbers now. However, again, I'm telling you guys, you should not have an excuse, because for this quarter, I'm allowing the use of calculators because I know the pain of dealing with these kinds of things. You're going to multiply, then add, and then if you multiply the wrong way, your answer is going to be the wrong answer. So use calculator to double check things, okay? I'm allowing that. That's my, I'm setting up, lowering the bar. I'm not expecting you guys to be math whiz, but I do, hopefully you guys know how to use calculators. Anyway, I'm going off topic. Now that we change both mixed numbers to improper fractions, now we can combine them. So 136 over 13 minus 86 over 13 becomes 136 minus 86 all over 13. Now we can subtract 136 minus 86. 136 minus 86 is going to be 50 over 13, and then, or again, this is improper fraction. So and look at the beginning part, that's mixed numbers. So again, I prefer your answer to be in mixed numbers. So you're going to have 3. Do you guys remember how to change improper to mixed numbers? Okay, some of you guys, hopefully, some, for those people that don't know how to change mixed number improper to mix, let's have a let's do some review right now. So first of all, we're going to divide 50 with 13. We're going to use long division. So how many 13s goes to 50? 3. 3 times 13, 3 times 13 is 39, and you're going to get 11. So your answer is going to be your whole number 3. Your remainder is going to be your, this is whole number, and this is your new numerator. So when you combine that, you're going to get 3 and 11 over 13. Your denominator stays the same. Okay? So that's how you, for those that just forgot, that's how you change mixed numbers to improper fraction. So you divide the fraction, 50 over 13 becomes 50 divided by 13, and you're going to divide, your answer is going to be your whole number, your remainder is going to be your new numerator, and then your denominator will stay the same. Okay, now the last part of this video, we're going to deal with negative fractions. Negative fractions basically is a combination of negative numbers and fractions. Hopefully you guys are good with negatives, but again, this will be only be a few problems in your homework and your test. But I do want to see how good you are in negative fractions. So when we're dealing with negative fractions, I want you guys to take notice of something. Let's say we have negative a over b. So we have negative, and then we have a over b. The, for those that just you guys are lost, what the frick are a and b? What do they stand for? A and the letters a and b are variables. So those are those can be any number you can think of. So a can be 1 and then b can be 2, things like that. Okay, so that's that's what I also struggle with. I'm like, when my teachers put variables in the board and I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? What is this a and b? Those just are those are just placeholders for the numbers. Okay, so let's say we have negative and then a fraction a and b. Well, we can change that into a negative a on the as your numerator and all over b. So we can change, let's say we have negative 1 over 3. Okay, we can change that to negative 1 all over 3. Another one is negative 11 over 13. We can change that to negative 11 over 13. So again, let me reiterate. Suppose we have a negative and a fraction, we can change that into just putting the negative to the numerator. We're going to push the negative to the numerator. So again, let's have another example. Negative, and then we have a fraction, 2/3. What we can do is we can push the negative to the numerator. So instead of negative and negative and then the fraction 2/3, we're going to have negative 2 all over 3. So your numerator is the negative now. So this is pretty useful when we're dealing with negatives. And again, and when let's review some things first. Addition rule of negatives and positive numbers. Let me pause a bit. So addition rule has two rules. If we're adding if we're adding numbers with the same sign, we're going to add them and then keep the same sign they share. And then another rule is if we're adding two numbers with a different sign, so let's say we're adding negative and a positive or a positive and negative, what we're going to do is we're going to subtract and then use the sign of the larger number. So when we subtract, we're ignoring the negatives. And then when I'm talking about the larger number, we're talking about the one that looks large, okay? Like the absolute value wise. So let's say we have negative 4 over 7 plus negative 2 over 7. So the first step you should do when you're dealing with negative fractions is that you want to change change both fractions into so that your numerator is the one that's negative. So let's deal with negative 4 over 7. Negative 4 over 7 becomes negative 4 all over 7 plus, now we're going to change negative 2 over 7 into negative 2 all over 7. Now the numerators are the negatives ones. Now we basically do the same thing we always do when we're adding fractions. First thing first, combine negative 4 plus negative 2 all over 7, and then you're going to use your addition rule. In this case, what are we going to do? Same sign or different sign? They're both negative, so we're going to use the same sign rule. Same sign, so we're going to add them, and then we're going to keep the same sign. So we're going to add 4 and 2, so we're going to get 6, and then we're going to keep the same sign they share, so your answer is going to be negative 6, and then it's going to be all over 7, and that's it. Your final answer is negative 6 all over 7. Now let's have another one. In this case we only have one negative, so let's say we have negative 11 over 14 plus 4 over 14. So first thing first, again, you want to change all your negative fractions to just fractions with negative numerators. So here we're going to have negative 11 all over 14 plus 4 over 14. Now combine the numerator, we're going to have negative 11 plus 4 over 14, and then we're going to choose same sign or different sign. Well, one is negative, one is positive, so we're going to use different sign. So different signs means we're going to subtract and then use use the sign of the larger number. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 11 minus 4 to get 7. So your final answer is going to be 7, and then what's the sign? Okay, now you're going to think to yourself, which number is bigger, 11 or 14? 11 or 4? 11, right? So your answer is going to be negative. And then copy the denominator. So your final answer is negative 7 over 14. Or, again, we can simplify things. Going to be negative 1 over 2. Why is that? We're going to divide both sides by 7. Negative 7 over 7. Negative 7 divided by 7 is negative 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So your final answer is negative 1 over 2. Again, I'm not really strict about your simplifying things. That's 8th grade. Right now you're 7th grade, so you guys are free to not simplify things, but I prefer it. You might be getting confused right now. Now, this is addition rule, right? So we also need to remember subtraction rule. Subtraction rule is pretty straightforward. You're going to change minus to plus and change the right side number to its opposite. Then use addition rule. So let's say we have negative 12 over 17 minus 3 over 7. Oh, my bad. Ignore what I just said. So the first problem is negative 12 over 7 minus 3 over 7. So first thing first is you always want to put your negatives into your numerator. So you're going to have negative 12 over 7. This is negative 12 over 7, right? And what do you call this? Minus or negative? Minus, right? So we just keep it at the same. My bad on that one, it looks ugly. Again, if you know how to read problems, you're pretty straightforward here. If it's negative, you put it up. If it's minus, you stay put. Okay? So now we have negative 12 over 7 minus 3 over 7. Now we combine your numerator, so you're going to have negative 12 minus 3 over 7. Okay? If you know how to read the problem, you're pretty good. This is minus, this is negative. Those are the main difference. You can even put a parenthesis to indicate it. Negative 12 minus 3. Now, the next step is you're going to use subtraction rule. You're going to negative 12 stays as is, minus becomes plus, minus becomes plus, so it's negative 12 plus, and then we go to 3. The right side number becomes opposite. So what's the opposite of positive 3? Negative 3. So now you're going to have negative 12 plus negative 3 all over 7, and then addition rule, they have the same sign, so you add. So 12 plus 3 is 15. Keep the same sign, negative 15 all over 7. And then last but not least, we have negative 1 over 10 minus negative 3 over 10. So now, first thing first, you want to put all the negatives into the numerator. So now we got negative 1 over 10 minus negative 3 over 10. So this minus and that minus. This negative goes here, this negative goes here, this minus stays in the middle. And then combine the fractions, so you're going to have negative 1 minus negative 3 all over 10. Now you're going to use a subtraction rule. Negative 1 stays the same, minus becomes plus, and what is the opposite of negative 3? Positive 3. So now we have negative 1 plus 3, and this is addition rule. Addition rule says we're going to subtract because they have different signs. So we got 3 minus 1, which is 2. And then we're going to use the sign of the larger number, positive, so your final answer is going to be positive 2 all over 10, or 1 over 5. Again, simplify if you can. Divide both numerator and the denominator with the same number, 2. So you're going to have 1 over 5. And that's your final answer. And that's it for this week. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. That's the end of the video. Click and subscribe for more 7A Math. Peace.